Welcome, moviegoers. How are we doing? Good, good. Do you have your ticket? All right, what do we have here? Real Swell. Good choice. You're going to be in Auditorium 43. It's straight ahead and to the right. Enjoy. Daredevil Born Again premiered tonight, and I must say, I missed Daredevil. I also need to say this. The Defender series that was previously on Netflix was some of the best that Marvel has produced in a very long time. Every one of those series were amazing. Now, Iron Fist was the weakest of those four, but Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage were all amazing shows. Iron Fist had its highlights, but again, it was the weaker of the four series. Charlie Cox might be the best thing to happen to Marvel since Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, I said it. That first series, Daredevil, was just so good. The acting, the writing, the cinematography, the action scenes, how practical all those fight scenes were, the choreography of the fights, all of it was just so well done. It was such an amazing show. And I was just like, I'm sure everyone else, very excited when it was announced that we would be getting more of Daredevil and on Disney Plus, of course. The show starts with fond memories or recollection. We get to see Matt Murdock, Foggy Nelson, Karen Page walking out of their law office. It's called Murdock, Nelson, and Page. And they are leaving work, headed to a bar to celebrate the retirement of a police chief. Well, that's kind of where the niceties end because the show starts off by doing something that Secret Invasion did. Do you remember in Secret Invasion where they killed off Maria Hill? I did not like that at all in Secret Invasion. Well, they brought that back in the first episode, in the first scene of this Daredevil series by killing Foggy. He gets sniped by Bullseye. And we don't know why Bullseye wanted or needed Foggy killed, but he lures him out of the bar where they are, and he's up on the rooftop, and he shoots him dead. Once he shoots Foggy, he drops down onto the street level to enter the bar. He throws in smoke bombs to disorient everyone, as if he has another target. And we never learn who that target is, because as he's about to pull his weapon to take out this other target, Daredevil comes in and tackles him through a window, and they engage in a fight. Now, I mentioned how good the fight scenes were in the original Daredevil series. It kind of takes a step back, at least in this series, this first episode. There's a lot of CGI in this fight scene, and there's a lot of increased frame rate in this fight scene. Even the smoke bombs that are thrown are CGI. It's a very digitized scene, and it was very jarring. given that what we're used to from Daredevil and those fight scenes is feeling every punch, hearing every hit, and there was something different. I mean, of course, what was different is it was fake this time, but as one of the staples of that series, it's very interesting that they would go this route with this fight scene. And it gets better as Bullseye and Daredevil move throughout the bar, and they go up some stairs and they exchange blows as they run up the stairs. But also at the same time, Bullseye is throwing knives and whatever he can get his hands on at Daredevil and at other pedestrians and civilians who are just roaming about the apartment. But again, that initial fight scene isn't practical. It's very jarring to watch. As they climb the stairs of this building, they get to the roof, and Foggy is down on the ground. He is fighting for his life, and Karen is trying to keep pressure on this bullet wound, but of course it's a through and through, and it essentially hit an artery, at least, if not his heart. So he's got blood coming out at a rate that can't be stopped without proper medical attention, and the ambulance is not in the vicinity. So Foggy lies there on the ground and dies. Daredevil, fighting Bullseye up on the roof, hears, one, Karen scream, and two, Foggy's heart no longer beating. And he loses it. He becomes very enraged, as one would expect, and he just starts pummeling Bullseye to the point where he actually throws him off of the roof, essentially killing him. Well, once he gets his head wrapped around what's going on, he does get back down, and he kind of throws his helmet away because he can't fathom what has just happened. We also see, though, that Bullseye survives this fall. He falls from like 3 stories up, and somehow he survives. We hopefully will get an explanation about that down the road. But we get a fast forward 1 year, and it doesn't seem as though there were any consequences for Matt, because while he was up on the roof, right before he throws away his helmet, the officer who was being celebrated downstairs in the bar comes up to the roof to find out what's going on, and he sees Matt with his helmet off. So he knows that Matt is Daredevil now. He also knows that Matt just threw this guy off of the building, presumably killing him. It turns out he doesn't die, but there's also no repercussions for him being just some random guy throwing people off of a building. At some point, it's not really self-defense. He chased him, they got into a fight, and then he threw him off of a building. So we advance 1 year later, and we don't hear anything about that at all. It doesn't come back that he threw some guy off of a roof. So maybe that will come back at some point, or maybe it's all forgiven, given the circumstances. Well, after a year has passed, we see Vanessa Fisk running the Empire for Wilson. And Echo shoots him in the face. He has to go away for a while, heal up, and then return rehabilitated. But the rehabilitation that he goes through is kind of a spiritual one, given how he was healed from that gunshot wound in Echo. So he's essentially at least assuming the character of a different man, a better man, one who wants to do good for the city. And he speaks with his wife and he lets her know that he's ready to run for mayor of New York. And in doing so, he needs to separate himself from his empire, which is her empire now. She's been running it ever since he had to go away. He begins his campaign for mayor, and Matt takes an interest in this because Matt knows who Wilson Fisk really is. He has him followed. He begins to keep tabs on him to the point where he actually confronts him outside of a tour event or press event that he's doing and invites Wilson to coffee. They go out, they have a talk. And what Matt communicates to Wilson is if the Kingpin emerges, then Daredevil will be there to check him. To which Wilson says, if the Daredevil ever shows up, I, as mayor, will be there to check him. So they've got this agreement, essentially, that neither of them will cross the line and they will stay out of each other's way. All the while, Karen and Matt are trying to reconcile their friendship. After Foggy died, Matt shut down. For weeks and for months, he would not talk to anyone, let alone Karen, one of his best friends who also lost Foggy. She moves away to the other side of the country. She moves to San Francisco to get away from the tragedy that has struck. Well, it's torn a rift in this friendship. So much so that she is disappointed to learn that Matt is no longer Daredevil. He has given that up. He doesn't believe it's helping, and he believes it's doing more harm than good. And we got a sense of that in Punisher, I believe, where she never wanted Matt to stop being Daredevil. She believed Hell's Kitchen needed Daredevil, and whatever sacrifices he needed to make on his morals, they were needed sacrifices because the city needed help. So we don't resolve that. They're still trying to figure out how to move forward within their friendship after Foggy and the repercussions of him having died. We do get some sort of quote unquote justice because Bullseye does stand trial and he is convicted of 11 counts of first degree murder to be served consecutively. So, of course, because this is a comic book series, he's probably not going to be in jail. That's probably not the last time we're going to see Bullseye. But they give us that bit of light for as justice for Foggy. Wilson Fisk's mayoral campaign is very similar to Trump, and it's an easy trope at this point. Of course, 8 years ago, a lot of storylines included a Trumpian rise to office, and they're mirroring it again in this show. It probably has less to do with Trump, but because that's just what he's done twice now, that's just what it looks like. Whenever we have this quote unquote outsider of politics, this bigger than life personality, that wins office, our first thought is going to be Trump. So that was my first thought. What they also incorporate into his campaign is the digital age that we live in. It's all about social media, it's all about engagement and clicks and your presence with the generation that is always on their phone. So they toy around with that a little bit. I think a more focused story element would have served better to fully envelop us in today's age. But they threw it in there as a hint and they leaned on it enough so that it's prevalent. But Wilson appears as though he has changed. He wants to believe that he has changed. But in his conversation with Matt, they kind of both walk that line between wanting to still be that other half of who they are. Daredevil is still within Matt. The Kingpin is still within Wilson. And the right trigger will bring out the other side of both of those men. So I'm excited to see how that dynamic pushes forward. Matt begins a relationship with one of his co-workers' friends. She kind of sets them up on this blind date, no pun intended. And they've got this romance brewing. I assume something negative is going to come out of this relationship, whether it's because she's going to betray Matt or because she's going to be hurt because of Matt being Daredevil. Because that just seems like it's going to be the trope, right? He needs something to make him angry again, or angry enough to don the devil persona. This show is just as good as I remember. I believe that the writing is on par with the original series. I think before I can say it's elevated to the level of action, we need more and less, more action scenes, but less CGI in those action scenes, or the CGI needs to improve because of the standard that they set with that original series. These CGI moments that we've gotten thus far aren't going to cut it. But that is episode 1, and I look forward to episode 2. Thank you for coming to this screening of Real Swell. I hope you enjoyed. As you head out, I've got 3 things to ask of you. 1, pick up your trash. These ushers don't get paid enough. 2, make sure you are following so you don't miss the next screening. And 3, hit that heart for me. I'll see you all next time. Make sure you've got your ticket.